Hi, everybody. This is Jynnette The Oracle, and welcome to Oracle Talks. Thank you so much for being here. I am joining you from sunny California, and it's actually beautiful weather outside, so I am so grateful. Hopefully, the weather is nice where you are, and life is as peaceful as possible. Today, I am drinking a matcha latte, almost done with it. So I've been sitting with Spirit. But yeah, let me know as you come in what you might be sipping on, eating, what have you in the comments. And of course, let us know where you are joining from around the world. If you are new here, my name is Jynnette The Oracle. I am the founder and CEO of Anderson Alchemy. I'm a spiritual life coach and business strategist, helping people like you become into more of their soul sovereignty, embrace more of their soul power, more of their economic sovereignty, economic power, for the sole purpose of helping to make a better world collectively. Okay, that is the intention over here at Anderson Alchemy. And we do that through various ways, which you can find out more on the website. That info is scrolling at the bottom of the screen as well as in the description box below. So feel free to peruse. But some quick announcements. If you are not already a newsletter subscriber, be sure to subscribe. I mentioned this in the last Oracle Talks, but I'm reminding you again that my 10-year anniversary of being in business with Anderson Alchemy is coming up in June, but I'm dropping specials in the next newsletter that's coming out on Monday. So the day that I'm recording this on Saturday, so you got a few more days before that newsletter drops. And that's going to have some specials to celebrate 10 years in business for me, for Anderson Alchemy. So if you want to make use of those deals, take advantage of those, definitely check those out. If I can remember correctly, they should be lasting through the month of June, but that is the only place where I'm dropping those. So you have to be a subscriber in order to get access to those specials. So enjoy those as you will. I will also be completing the June 2026 astrology report that will be coming out the following week. So I think that will actually be dropping on Memorial Day. So hopefully you have the day off so you can enjoy reading that. I always drop that once a month to essentially provide both personal / spiritual guidance as well as entrepreneur guidance, giving you a framework for giving you context for the astrological environment and then how that can be leveraged, you know, for your purposes to achieve certain goals, help you to do some healing work, what have you, or to be able to make progress in your business, break through certain thresholds, etc. Okay, so that is a more detailed kind of look at the month ahead. It breaks things down. It gives you an overview, goes through also gives you a list of the transits and also hones in on individual planets and breaks things down a little bit more. So that will come out in the newsletter. And I do also eventually publish that material on a blog, but that always comes after the fact. So if you want to have access to that info first, before everyone else, that also is available for those of you who are newsletter subscribers. Okay. So again, if you're not already a subscriber, sign up at the link below. For my entrepreneurs in particular, if you are new to entrepreneurship, you've been in business for maybe a year or two, or you've been in business for a while, I do have a free training, and it is free training for folks to go through. It's called 6 Steps to 6 Figures. It's really good for helping you to actually have a framework for the different stages and the requirements for that stages in order to get you to generating your first 6 figures in revenue. I know within the social media context, that doesn't seem like it's a big thing because everyone's always talking about a lot more money, but the data is the data about what it really looks like for everyday people who have their own businesses, whether they are solopreneurs, service providers, product-based businesses or whatever, but small and maybe some medium-sized businesses, you need to be having realer conversations. So this is actually to help you to get to that point. And then from there, obviously you can take the bigger steps, but this is really good and really helpful, and it's definitely been something that has brought a lot of value to people. So I highly recommend checking that out. Again, link in the bio for that info. Okay. So this session today for Oracle Talks is where I'm going to be doing a brief overview for the month ahead for June. So I'll be touching a little bit on the astrology, but again, like I said, I go into more detail in the newsletter. So I'll talk about that, the astrology first, again, on the personal side of things, spiritual side of things, as well as business. And then we're going to get into some spirit messages addressing, both the personal and the business, but related to the themes that not only am I seeing coming up with the astrology, but also what has been coming through from spirit, to, again, provide you with the tools to be able to make the most of what is coming ahead in the month. Okay. So let's actually get started with the astrology. I will, of course, provide timestamps once this is done. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you're not already a subscriber. Thank you so much. And like and share the video and all the things. You know how it is on these distribution channels. All right, so I'm going to be going back and forth between my notes in here, so don't mind me. But in general, for the astrology for next month, it is going to be much more focused on the personal planets, in particular, Mercury and Venus. Okay, Mercury is going to be coming into the sign of Cancer, and it's actually going to be there through the beginning of August, actually through Lionsgate, if I remember correctly. So it's going to be sitting there for a while. Okay. If you don't know, Mercury is retrograde in water signs all this year. So we're going to be retrograde in Cancer. But that energy in particular, on a personal level, that's going to continue this theme that has already been coming up, if you've been here the past few weeks, around all the things having to do with the astral. So ancestors. So this is going to be, your blood relations, your lineages, just greater soul family. So those who might not be blood related in the astral, but, connected to the family, good, bad, or otherwise. As well as past life aspects. Okay. That is going to continue, and it is going to be very much a focus during this entire transit of Mercury going through Cancer. Okay. So for these next 2 months, if it's kind of been like in the back of the head a little bit, it's going to become front and center once we hit the beginning of June. Just FYI, it's there for a purpose. The backdrop of this, of course, is the fact that we have the North Node that's going to be shifting from Pisces into Aquarius towards the end of July. So this is a really important shift in the nodal cycles, because for me, in my interpretation of astrology, this has to do with the actual soul purpose, soul connections, soul ties, and all of that. So whenever we are in those time periods of transitions, especially when we're in the later degrees or later zodiac signs of the chart, bigger themes definitely come up. So these two things coinciding very much coincides with what I was picking up with spirit. And when I was starting to look at the astrology a little bit deeper, I started to understand why it was coming through. So just know that is a heads up. If you've been feeling the call to do some deeper work in that regard, know that is a reason why that's coming up. On the flip side, maybe that's not as much front and center. It may come up later for you in the process, but the other thing that has been showing up is more of a pull to reconnect actually with your spiritual abilities. So I've been noticing a lot more people have been having experiences where their ancestors have been kind of reaching out to them, whether in through dreams or they're getting, nature spirit messages. They feel like their senses are opening up to different types of realms. Maybe they are reacquainting themselves to the fact that they have like prophetic dreams, or that, they come from a family of dreamers, like, just all those things of the ability starting to come online again, because they were already present, but they kind of, got suppressed. But they're coming online again. And this time around, there is there's a shift in perspective and value system internally that has occurred where I'm noticing folks are now more seriously considering it rather than like passing it off. They're actually at a place now where they're like, you know what, I do want to explore this more. I'm not like, I might be tentative about it, but I'm also in my heart of hearts not trying to shy away from it anymore. Like, I do want to know, I do want to explore whatever it is. I am actually open. So I am seeing that as well. So I do expect that to also be the other component to this transit of Mercury going through Cancer, and this shift of the nodes um, over the course of the 2 months as well. And as I'm saying this, like, I know I'm this supposed to be talking about June, but it really is feeling like this summer of June and July, but there's other stuff happening in July, so I will specifically talk about July when we get to that point. So yeah, so that's Mercury on that personal slash spiritual level. It's going to be much more internally focused. Yes, of course, in a traditional sense, you will be more connected to your feelings and your emotions and being able to communicate that. Yes, that's very much the mass vibe. But for folks who are here in this space, who are part of this greater soul family, who are resonating with this work that happens over here at Anderson Alchemy, these more specialized spiritual aspects are definitely the things that are going to be coming up more so for you. Okay. Um, and yeah, the spirit is bringing up again past life stuff as well, because you might not feel that there's much with ancestor stuff, but there might be past life stuff that you need to kind of clear out for whatever reason. It's in some way, shape, or form may be impacting you negatively in this here and now. On a business side of things, this is actually perfectly coinciding with that, with the fact that we are at the halfway point of the year, right? So this is the time with this transit to be reviewing where you have been so far, the first 6 months of the year, what has worked, what hasn't worked, and to be able to look ahead to the second half of the year and be like, okay, how, if at all, does the strategy need to shift in order to accomplish what needs to be accomplished? In particular, as I was sitting with this more, especially with spirit, the reminder is coming through of like, how your energy works, what the demands are on you in terms of family, business, etc. That goes into how well you're able to show up in your business, delivering product, service, etc. So those points of the year that actually are really busy for you. Again, if you've been in business for at least a year, you have some kind of frame of reference for what Q3 and Q4 kind of look like for you. But even if you are brand new and this is the first time you're going into Q3, Q4 in particular, then you can use the societal behaviors as a way to kind of frame the availability of, the market, the responsiveness of the market to your products and services. November, December is a very busy time. It's a very social time, etc. So for you in your business, that may mean you shift to being more social. You might be more prone to being involved with events. You might have stronger marketing push, etc. So there might not be as much time for doing planning and strategy work. What does that mean as you are entering into June and making plans for the rest of the year? That means you need to be thinking about future planning earlier in the process, maybe September, October, rather than trying to do it in the midst of all the craziness at the end of the year when you really don't have the mental bandwidth, right? Maybe you're like, okay, I want to level up some skills or focus on my leadership development. How can I be a better CEO, better what have you? Your focus may be doing that more so in these summer months, because you can focus more, right? It's a little bit more open. There's infrastructure already in place. You're, again, not having to do um, too much output, right? Out of the norm. That might be the time to go deeper into taking on something to help you or your business grow, adjust, pivot as it needs, right? So, again, this is a great time for that work in the month of June. So, you're already getting a heads up right now about that. So, you can kind of start preparing that. Maybe you want to take a weekend, maybe you want to sparse, some time throughout the day, every day for the month, however you want to approach it. But that would be the recommendation that I have for making the most of that transit. The other personal planet that is the center point for the month, besides Mercury, is Venus. Okay, Venus is doing all sorts of aspects with the outer planets. So Venus will also be in Cancer in the first part of the month. I think like the first week or so. Yeah, I believe the first week. Let me just double check. First 2 weeks. Never mind. Two-ish weeks, 2.5 weeks. So the first half of the month, she will be in Venus, and then the second half, and then of course moving on in July, she'll be shifting into Leo. In those Leo aspects in particular, she's going to be making a lot of aspects to the outer planets. So it's, again, very Mars focused, or not Mars, very Mercury focused, and very Venus focused for the month of June. Okay. Now, Venus, on a personal level, this was very clearly coming through as love in all of its forms. So this is going to be such a beautiful, restorative, joyful, happy, illuminating, vibrant energy for your relationships. This is a great time to be connecting with your friends, connecting with family, connecting with your more kind of closer social groups around, topics of interest. That's really what it's about. It's not so much the energy around like networking and things like that. That's not the vibe of Cancer. Cancer is about what actually feeds you personally. It's a little bit more intimate space. So this is going to be great for that. Beautiful, loving, romantic energy as well too. This is going to be great for dating, for existing relationships. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And that will continue as Venus gets into Leo. The Leo time period in particular, for those of you who are single and dating, that's going to be great for you because the charm is going to be on 9 on 10. So if you are, in the market looking for somebody, that in particular, the second half of the month and moving forward is going to be a great time for you. Okay. But yeah, no, beautiful, beautiful home loving, supportive energy for sure. So that came through very strong with Venus. On the business side of things, this is interesting because Venus here, what I was picking up in spirit, in particular, was this honing in on being able to speak to, um, or at least identify, depending on how you're using it, speak to or identify what the needs are of your clients. And we do need this reminder because obviously Venus always comes back to being in Cancer, just like all the planets, because we go through this repeatedly. So the reinforcement is good. It's important because sometimes we can, get excited with the new things that we might be trying to launch. We might get distracted by operations and workflows and all the things. And we can kind of be separated from what actually is at the core of what people want and what they're looking for, and need to be brought back to what we're actually needing, right? Where the interface of exchange is occurring. Like that does need to be centered. So Venus here is going to again help with the identification of that if it's not been clear, or at least the reinforcement of it in your marketing on the external side of things, as well as internally if you do have employees or contractors that you work with, et cetera, because they also are customers and clients. It is relational in nature. that is going to be important as well too, and that the Venus energy is going to be supportive for that. So if you lean into that support, especially when it comes to the marketing side of things, you can find there'll be some nice returns on investment, so to speak, depending on what your, what the purpose of the marketing is. And there will be specific dates that I'm going to be giving in the newsletter for the June astrology report, that will give you those dates of like, okay, if you took this message to heart, these are dates that you most likely will see returns on investments for that shift and adjustments for identification or amplification of the needs of the clients that you serve. As Venus moves into Leo, this is very much going to be focused on you as the leader, the decision maker, helping you to be and become who you need to be, not only to steward the business, but also to be a good decision maker. So again, this is very restorative, especially lined up with that Mercury in Cancer transit, to help you get to a place in how you think and how you operate and how you strategize, to lead in the best way possible. Um, yes, there will obviously need to be some operational things, but often for those who are in decision making positions. And if you're a solopreneur, you're the decision maker for everything. Your internal world and how you manage that, how you perceive what you're actually doing versus what you're thinking about doing, etc. That actually has a huge impact. So yeah, this is going to be really supportive for you doing that kind of development work. So highly recommend leaning into it. You have both of these planets, Mercury and Venus, to help you with it. Mars is kind of hanging out there in the background. It's also supportive because it's Mars in Taurus for most of the month. So it's really grounded action that's going to give you measurable results down the road. Taurus, like all earth signs, likes money. Taurus is also really good about having and setting a system, even if it doesn't enjoy it, but it can do it as long as it knows that it's going to get what it needs out of it. So it's not going to be frivolous. It's not just doing stuff to do stuff. So again, that can help you. But yeah, the energy is really grounded for doing this type of work, in a way, again, that is going to be real and have lasting impact for you for the long term. Now, Mars will be shifting into Gemini at the end of the month. That is not fun as much because it's a really kind of, depending on your personality, it can induce a lot of anxiety. So on a personal level, this might make you um, have a really hard time focusing. But if you are looking to make connections and network and be out there and everything, this can be really helpful. If you're trying to make new friends, again, this can be helpful with dating energy. So it definitely can be supportive, but on a mental level, again, depending on your internal world, that this might be tough. On the business side of things, again, this can be supportive when it comes to marketing, networking, talking to your clients, etc. But it can also fly off the cuff. It can also like to play devil's advocate. It can spin its wheels and not necessarily make progress forward just because it's fun, it's interesting, it likes the novelty of things. So the groundedness beforehand is going to be helpful because you can use that playfulness, or that exploratory nature to look for new things to come. But I wouldn't strategize from that place. So again, June is going to be that time for the entrepreneurs anyway to ensure that they have more of a grounded approach. On a personal level, June is going to be that time for re-solidifying your foundation in community, in your relationships, in the intimate spaces to help fuel you for the time ahead. Okay. So that is our overview for the month. Hopefully that has been helpful. Let me see if there's any questions or comments. No, we're good. Okay. So we're going to get next into the oracle messages. Okay, so for these messages, I already actually have the cards out, but what I wanted to check in with, because again, I always spend time with spirit before I jump on here, which usually means I'm sitting with spirit for a while because there's always so much. But for the overview, I was like, let me just focus on a couple things, because there is a lot that is going to be coming down, and is too much to talk about in one session. So um, in particular, on the spirit side of things, we're going to be having some discussions over these next couple of weeks. It's good, but we're going to be having some discussions for sure, because there's some beautiful energy dispensations coming, but there's also some important topics that need to be addressed. So, but I got five cards out while I was sitting with spirit, and these are representing, in general, the things to focus on as it relates to this context that I've touched on a little bit with the astrology, but also other things that are kind of going on. So for those who are, watching live now or going to be watching this the next couple of days, this is one of those messages where it's like, take what you gather from it now, but definitely circle back to it once we get to the beginning of the month and you have the additional astral info that I have, as well as some of the other messages that are going to start coming out, to revisit these messages, because other things are going to click in with that. Okay, so just putting that out there. Okay, so just like with the astrology, we're going to be addressing the spiritual side of things, and then we will be addressing the business side of things, because we do both over here, but also spirit is in everything. Spirit is in everything. Okay, first topic is the Two of Scrolls. And this card is called Two Worlds. This particular deck is the Akashic Tarot, for those who are curious. Okay, so in general, this card talks about the juxtaposition and also the struggle that can tend to occur for folks. And this specifically does actually talk about past lives, just FYI, because in this situation, you have somebody who is in this, in their home. Almost looks kind of like a workroom too, but they're in their home. It is bright. There is some shadow, but they're kind of like looking down. There's some slight dejectedness. It reads more dissatisfaction rather than necessarily like depression. Outside, very vibrant, colorful, joyous. It almost seems like there's a festival going on. But this card in particular talks about like how a soul is trying to figure out the middle path, because there's the one path where it's like you're very much involved in the world, and then there's this path here which is more spirit focused. It's more internal, self-reflective focused, right? And anyone who has been or started on the spiritual path, this juxtaposition of trying to quote unquote do both. So this very specifically is speaking about a soul who has maybe gone through a few cycles as a really strong spiritual person, and they're trying to figure out how to juxtapose that with surviving in the world in a way that moves past survival. It actually is more living and thriving, right? As well as souls who have been very comfortable in the world, but have been being pulled more to exploring the spiritual side of things and trying to figure out like, okay, well, how does this even fit in my world? Like what actually is what I would say in my language here in this modern day, an integrated path. In the East, this would be the middle way, right? But for me, middle implies like halfway between. for me, the integrated path is the sacred third. It's going to be that perfect combination of elements of both, um, that works best for the particular soul. And that integrated path is going to be very different from someone else's integrated path. It may look like more of one versus the other, but it's the integrated path, right? So that's what this is speaking about. Now, again, I already talked about the Mercury in Cancer influence bringing this up, but like I said, this is specifically related to past soul life uh, aspects coming into play. Okay. Now, what that could be related to is going to depend on the purpose, on the person. So this could be related to money. Money is actually the thing that is highlighted here on the table. Okay. There are elements also of work, the working of the hand, right? Um, but there could also be stuff around relationships too, because this person is here alone. Um, and it definitely feels like it's a different kind of world, different kind of experience compared to what is shown out in the window. Okay, you get the impression that there is a lot more like connection and community out there, but this could be, romantic relationships, family, friends, difficulty connecting with those, or the opposite of that being those bonds are so strong, it's very difficult to be able to carve out the personal to be able to do this work. So, it's going to depend on the person, but the main struggle is really the thing here about the juxtaposition between these two realities and how to find that middle way, or again, as I like to say, the integrated path. Okay. Um, see if there's anything else around here. Yeah, literally the moon card. It's yeah, it's deep. And this is having to go deep in the subconscious, and actually it's not even subconscious, it's deep in the unconscious to see how this is showing up. So I was giving more so, the personal examples for what that could be. For the business side of things, this is still related to past life stuff, but since again the focus is on primarily in the card on money and what's being produced, or how you're serving the community. This could be stuff around, even having permission to be able to do so. This could be around being able to produce more, i.e., have more of a profit, have more comfort, have luxury in your life. If that wasn't the experience of, the past, or again, the opposite, you could have had a lot in the past and misused or abused that, and you are in this life trying to reconcile the love and the desire and the ease of being able to have more, but to do it in a way that is not exploiting you or others. This could have to do with you being able to earn your own outside of the family business, or maybe the partnered business, because there definitely can be isolation associated with that. There could be stuff around the risks that might have been taken in a past life as it relates to money or resources or what have you, and that hinders your ability to try new things here, because there's something about waiting for the other shoe to drop, because of something that happened in the past that actually probably was outside of your control but still impacted you. So yeah, that is going to be interesting to see for the entrepreneurs how this past life stuff is showing up for you in terms of how you are seeing your business and how you are operating it, how you're making decisions, etc. And this very much can be beliefs around money. Okay. Shame, grief, all those things. With this as a final note for either case, depending on if it's resonating for you or not. Although again, it's going to be resonating for at some point. It's going to be resonating for folks because it's such a big it's a big theme that's reinforced with the astrology. Regardless, the emotional reactions or the feelings are kind of like mile markers or pointers to what is actually going on. So intellectually, logically, you may not think like the past life aspect that's showing up, right? And you may be like, I'm fine, but emotionally, this keeps popping up and it becomes an issue. So um, the emotions, like getting the emotions to resolve and come to a place of peace, doesn't resolve the issue. The emotions are pointers to something else. They are a feedback system. So the emotional equanimity in this context for dealing with the past life stuff is not the goal. It's the starting place. Okay. All right. Next topic. The King of Keys. So this is very much a business person. This king is literally coming home, very much in a place of victory. It seems more diplomatic victory as opposed to like war victory, because he's not like tired and bruised and bloodied. Like it's a very pretty horse. Everything is looking beautiful and fine. So yeah, it's a victory in the realms that don't require blood and violence and things, right? And he's returning to his castle. Just FYI, with this deck, there is a Queen of the Keys, and in that card, we see this scene from the perspective of the Queen. She's up on the second floor, one of the rooms, a balcony out of one of the rooms. Can't remember if it's her bedroom or whatever, but anyway, uh, she's on a second floor and she's looking out over the field, and there's a tiny little uh, vision of him like in the distance by the trees here. So she sees him coming home. Okay, so in that card, she's looking at him coming home, and again, she's standing pretty and taking care of things while he is gone. Um, in this card, he's looking to home. He can't literally see her because she's there in the building. She's able to see him because he's not covered by the building. But he's looking to, her in general and his home in general, and where he's going. But yeah, so this is a very enterprising person, very smart person, good decision maker, again, good negotiator. This could be a good mentor. It's like just all those kinds of things. So to me, especially in the context of what we were talking about with the astrology for next month, this is giving relationship energy of really, again, looking towards those things that are important. Yes, he's coming from a place of victory and what have you. I'm sure there's a whole retinue behind him because of the king. Like he's not just going to be traveling on his own. There's so much more that's like, connected to what he is in the world. But the focus here is this beautiful, warm sun, and it's home, and it's just him and what he's focused on. And again, what we don't see in the car, but again, what we see within the deck itself is home looking back at him, and these two wanting to come together. So this is an important message to sit with, because this is saying that in the midst of all the things that are and will be going on externally in the world, with your job, with politics, with the economy, etc., your focus also needs to be here. You're not the person that's not casting off their responsibilities, like he's not just throwing everything away and just like running to um home and to love what's comfortable. Like he's going to come fully as he is, with all of the things that he cares about and concerns about, but that's not covering his heart. That's not impacting his ability to recognize what's important, what's valuable to him, and what he's doing everything externally for. Okay. So I think that probably makes sense. For folks on a personal level, it really just is going to be talking about prioritizing spending time with the ones that you love and that really feed you on an intimate level. This energy right now is not networking energy. We had a little bit of that before. There will be more of that coming later. That's not what this is. This is what's already established and true. Like, this is the castle. It's been there. He's coming home to his queen. That's been there, right? So, is really paying attention to that. That has to be a focus. Okay. Let's see if there's anything else about this before we move on to the next topic. Interesting. You got the Judgment card. Oh, I just realized I forgot to talk about for the entrepreneurs. So this to me is highlighting the message that was coming through around really paying attention to, very specifically, um, I know how I mentioned about like the focusing on what the client needs, and really circling back to that. Specifically though, with this, what I'm getting is really pay attention to, and this is going to be looking at your numbers, looking at your data, not your idea about a thing, but really like what's occurring. Looking at those few products or services, or both, that bring in the most revenue. You might have a lot of options that are available for folks to purchase, to engage with, but there are going to be some star players, right, that actually do the heavy lifting for your business. That's home. That's what is represented by here. It's this for the month of June, anyway. I'm not talking about anything else, but for the month of June, the focus is going to be on the things that are already working, the things that have already established the foundation, the things that are going to be there regardless of the volatility of the markets and changing trends or what have you. Okay, this is stuff that has proven itself and that has stayed true, and again brings in the bulk of the revenue. So again, it's really only going to be a few items, whether it's products or services that are offered, but these are going to be the heavy hitters, the things again that bring in the most revenue, not the most units, not the things that bring the most engagement. And so I'm saying this specifically because we will use that as a way to um, convince ourselves that those dopamine hits mean success, right? This is in terms of revenue. Look at your numbers. That needs to be the focus. Yes, of course, you also will pay attention to other things, but for this time, double down on the tried and true and make sure you don't ever lose sight of that. Everything else is window dressing for this. Okay, so that's for the entrepreneurs. So this is interesting. Now, on the business side of things, this I get because what this is like almost like a call of the siren. So there's a lot of activity, a lot of people around things that can draw attention and focus. You don't have control over that, but you do have control over the tune, the song that you are singing. And there are going to be those that hear that and single it out. This also tells you that there is a receptivity to that which is valuable. And the things that are valuable are, again, the things that are tried and true, not trendy. Like, this is very much feeling like the Mars and Taurus energy. Like Taurus could care less. Okay. Like, intellectually might be curious, but it's like Taurus is going to do some digging and like, is the trend actually valuable or what have you? And unless you're a influencer whose job is to look at trends, like, but for most regular people, that's not the thing, right? They're like, okay, that's intellectually stimulating, pretty colors, etc. What's really under the hood? So that is actually what's happening. Okay. With people, with your clients, with customers, with the market in general. So this is not the time to be doing a song and dance on some BS. This is the time to actually be like, no, this is the star, or these are the stars in this business. And they've been the stars in business for years because they deliver XYZ value. Bet. Okay. Now, on the relationship side of things, this imagery is actually very interesting to me because this noise up here feels like distractions, but are also which, just the nature of life. But there is a vibe here too of like having to conscientiously make sure you are tending to, again, your unique song, the things that are important to you, and not allowing this melody, this thing that you are cultivating or that you have cultivated, to be thrown off by this noise or by these distractions. Because this energy is almost feeling like it's purposefully wanting to disrupt this connection, this cultivation. Okay, so you have to stay committed to that which you love, regardless of what is happening here. And I know it's easier said than done, but that is the guidance. All right, moving on. Excuse me. To the King of Scrolls. We got another king here. So this guy is a planner. Okay. There's something else with this one. Let me read it real quick because I totally forgot, actually. I totally forgot what his story is. What is your story, sir? Okay, yeah, teacher, communicator is the man of learning. Yeah. So brings wisdom through his own studies and spiritual practices. Be open to the guidance this man offers. For let me just read the whole thing. So again, on the spiritual side of things, spiritual side, personal side of things, this card, this man may be present in your life already. Person, this person may be in your life already. If not, you'll be meeting them soon. They may be an author, teacher, or communicator who will assist you in some professional way. They could also be a friend who brings wisdom through their own studies and spiritual practices. Be open to the guidance this person offers, for it could help lead your life in exciting new directions. Also, could be a love interest, always the case with the king and queens. Um, but in general, this card may also represent you, or someone you know who is longing, who's longing for a deeper understanding and a greater clarity of thoughts. Okay, so this is really about a pursuit of knowledge, wisdom, and learning. Now is the time to pursue new interests, um, perhaps even enroll in some classes or attend a lecture or two. Didn't I just say that earlier? A position in teaching, counseling, advertising, writing, publishing, or the like may be on the agenda now. Okay, if you're looking to shift. But a treasure trove of discovery is waiting for you. So let your mind and your life soar. So, yeah, on that personal side of things, this very much. I don't think I ever like realized this, but I didn't. I think I took the learning to be more on the side of scholarliness, but I didn't realize this card actually has so much on the spiritual side of things as well. That this actually has spiritual practices in that. I don't think I've actually paid attention to that before, but it's there. Um, and again, it's very grounded. So it's the the work and the practices, the perspective are things that help you develop a routine, that are grounded in life and life affirming ways of being, that may possibly help you connect more with nature or just various different realms. Like it's a really beautiful, again, grounded energy here. But this very much is talking about learning and things. So, like I was saying before, in particular for, well, actually, it's for either case, whether on a personal side or for business. Again, you know how your year tends to go. You know how your demands shift and change. So usually, again, the later part of the year, you don't have as much bandwidth to be able to invest in learning more, growing more, expanding more, as well as, excuse me, having the time and space to strategize vision for more, play in more. So this time kicking off June and moving forward over the summer and the early part of the fall is really going to be a time to do that and to seek that out. So June may be the time when you are specifically looking for people to help you in this process. This may be a time where you are thinking of going back to school. So you might be researching different schools, what have you. But June is definitely the time for that focus. Um, and yes, same as I was saying with business when it comes to if you need to do that kind of more growth work, leadership development work for yourself, shifting things in your business that require a little bit more behind the scenes work. June is the time to begin putting those things into place or to beginning shifting your focus to that because invariably, especially in Q4, the latter part of Q4, um, the capacity usually isn't there because there's so much of a push to take advantage of the very social energy. Also, can't believe I didn't mention this in the beginning, but here in the US, November, the beginning of November is um, midterm election time. So that's already going to be volatile. And so having a lot of that kind of like pre work done, especially planning work done for 2027, or at least getting something of a head start before we kind of get hit with the the impact of the volatility of that time, mentally, emotionally, and also probably physically, is going to be a good idea. Okay, let's see if there's anything else as it relates to that. One thing before I look at that card real quick. What I see here with these scrolls, There is a habit or a practice of engaging with work. There's two things with this. So on one, it may have been a while before you engage, before you have really spent some time engaging in deeper work to help to get you to the next level, whatever that is, on a spiritual growth side of things, as well as on the business side of things. So it is time to circle back to that. For others of you, you may also have the habit of regularly engaging with that just because, you think you should, or it's what everyone else is doing. But the depth of work and the depth of transformation actually hasn't been hitting, and so you're really considering, like, I'm not getting what I want or I need. Why is that happening? Now, on some level, yes, it could be, what you've been engaged with previously to help move your business forward. But on other things, it also could be the fact that you really haven't been doing the work. That could also be the case. Like, you might start and then, like, stop after, a few weeks. And long-term growth isn't going to be built on that, right? Like, investing is a 10-year strategy, not a quick fix, 90-day thing. Now, obviously, you're not going to be like in school for 10 years, but you get what I'm saying, right? So, however that's going to be resonating for you, again, on the spiritual side of things or on the business side of things, that also is coming through with that imagery. Let's see, clarifying messages. Oh, got 2 of Cups and the 10 of Cups. Yeah. Um, Whatever is there, it's something that you do. Okay, so I'm hearing it's an easy next step, whatever this learning is going to be for you on the spiritual side or on the business side of things. It's an easy next step. It is something that you can do. You do have the resources for, okay? And you also have the soul family ancestral support to help you with that. So basically, spirit has said yes. You are able, right? Ready, willing, and able to do so. That ability is not only resources and in terms of like financial resources, but also time. Again, which is why it's coming up now rather than later in the year. Because you still have to be able to engage with learning. Like, learning is a creative process, right? It's a building process. It requires focus and dedication. And realistically, again, we know what we can do and what we can't do based off of what's going on in life. Um, yeah, so it's there, but again, it's an easy next step. Not to say that in the process it will be easy, but there actually are no blocks to be able to do whatever this is that's opening up or that's presenting itself to you. Um, and again, if you're unsure, like I said, your family, your spirit team, ancestors, beneficial ancestors, because not everybody's beneficial, but your beneficial ancestors, they are saying yes around it. So you have that added support there as well. Okay. Where are we on time? I think we're okay. Let's get into next. We have will, wisdom, and mind. Will, wisdom, and mind. Okay. So, well, this is interesting. Not the card. I've seen the card, but I'm sitting with this in the context of what we've been speaking about. Okay, so This is a very esoteric card. I'll just touch on this lightly because this is actually one of those things that I know I'm going to be going deeper into at some point over the next couple weeks. So I'm truly just going to touch on this. But when you look at this card and when you read the bottom, the name for the card, it very much gives Trinity. There also can be like polarity too, because you literally have the water and fire. So the 2 and the 3 are very much embedded in this. So the 2 in terms of the polarity, right? Light versus dark, positive versus negative, life sustaining versus life destroying, etc. And then you have, of course, the middle way, or the integrated path, as I like to call it, like the bridge between the two that is a unique combination that makes this whole beautiful thing works, that makes you you. The crown, though, at the top is the interesting piece, because that's the when we talk about polarity, this is like the sacred third. But in the context of this picture, the sacred fourth, right? It's that which is beyond this stuff. These are the deeper truths, the deeper knowledge. These bottom aspects are like both the components as well as the tools of who you are and how you show up in this life, and in any given life, but in this life. Okay. This is very much, for me, in the spiritual context, getting into the nature of the soul itself. Is that soul more angelic in nature, more life affirming? Is it more demonic in nature, not life affirming? From my perspective as an oracle, you don't have to agree with this, but there's a difference between the difference between angel and demon is basically just the spectrum on which it's on, but it is essentially the same core thing. Really, more so what polarity is being shown or expressed more, but there's no real separation. Like, it is all interconnected. So folks like to use the language of shadow side. The shadow side is the demonic side. Demon isn't a separate entity, which is why you can have dark angels. Dark angels to me are demons, but they're just, demons are a little bit, can show up a little more deformed because they're a little bit more extreme on that polarity. The less extreme on the polarity won't be as deformed. They're going to be more problematic. The ones that we want to engage with, that we know cause problems, but they just look so good and they feel so good. That's that energy, right? But angels and demons are same family, so to speak. That's different than devils. Devil is actually a separate thing. You see why there'll need to be a different oracle message about this, because we can't get into that right now. So there's a lot with this. But yeah, like if it's like internally for me, like if I know someone is a demon, regardless of age, because if I see a child, I'm like, no, that child knows what it's doing. Like, it's has demonic tendencies, meaning like it's a stronger aspect in that child's spirit rather than the beneficial. I won't really say that to the parents. Like, I'll keep that to myself and maybe tell it to a friend or something. But yeah, regardless of age, like, once you really start to be able to see this, and you see that this is really a spectrum, you can see it for what it is. In a greater context, it also can be helpful for understanding why it's so difficult to get greater kind of societal shifts and changes, because this is family drama. We already know how difficult it is to even try to catalyze change um, within a family, whether there is, people who are certain elements that are really destructive, or if there's just like really strong familial patterning, ways of being, etc. It's really, really, really difficult to deal with and to change. And again, really big topic. Um, but that's what this is kind of pointing to. So it's just floating that out there for y'all for June. These kind of considerations coming up: angel versus demon versus double. Angel versus demon versus double. How that's going to be, relevant to you is to be seen. Like, this might be one of those times in June where you get really clear about who, what, and where is just a frustration that you can effectively um, deal with by managing your internal response, versus what's an actual adversary. This is also about knowing how to um, play to win rather than play to not lose. Take that context as you will. Take that as you will. Yeah, so that's the spiritual side of things. Let's see on the business side of things, what does that have to deal with? Okay, so this is this crown is representing you uh, as a business owner. Okay, whether you're a solopreneur or you have employees, contractors, etc. The crown is you. These three things to me immediately are jumping out as the three main pillars you need to be paying attention to um, in your business. Okay, one of those is going to be marketing. Okay, but again, from the perspective of a CEO, not a marketer. It's not to say that you necessarily won't be doing the marketing, especially if you are a solopreneur. You most likely will be that person because you're not going to have the funds just yet to pay for somebody full time or even part time, possibly. But you still have to, even if you have someone or if you're doing it yourself, you still have to have the who, what, where, and why, which can then be refined when you either put the marketing hat on fully and take on that role, or you pass that off to someone else and pay them to do it or delegate those responsibilities off to someone else. But you are the starting point for that. So that is one component. And that is a very different way to think than as like, oh, I don't know how to do social media, or I don't know how to do whatever. It's like, this is not how work as a CEO. Like, that's not what that is. Okay, so marketing definitely is one of them. Immediately that's coming through. The money management thing is coming through. Um, the money management stuff, let me actually, no, yeah, we're not going to use that phrase. Financial strategy is what I'll say. Yeah, the financial strategy, because the money management again is getting into the how stuff, and again, though, that is important, but that's a second step. Step number one is the strategy. What actually is the approach? Why are things priced the way they are priced? What is the margin that is the non-negotiable that you're setting at, and why is that the case? Like, that is your work. Okay, so marketing, financial strategy. Um, what's this last piece? What's this last piece? Oh, this last piece is something that if you've been with me for a while, you know I've harped on this a lot, but it's staying true to the why of the business. And I know that seems subtle, but please hear me when I say the amount of fight that ends up happening when someone is constantly making decisions that first start with looking at what other people, places, and things are doing, thinking, feeling about a thing, versus first and foremost, why are you even here? What is the purpose? What is the call? What is the impact that you are trying to make? And that not being the starting point. This is literally the heart and soul of the purpose, right? Of soul purpose. That's what that is. This the and it's the yin energy, and it's always, patriarchy. It's always a thing that gets discarded so easily, but this is actually the driving force. That is the velvet void from which everything else rises, that from which the light rises. This is the who, what, why, when, and where. These are the guiding principles. That card packed a punch. Okay. That card packed a punch. All right, let's see if there's anything else for that card before we move on to our last card. I give thanks that the technology is holding up today compared to last time. Oh, look at that. We have the Queen of Cups. Well, that you in energy. It's loud. The Queen of Cups. This is telling me that you do what I just said, like really rung true on either side, whether that was spiritual or on the business side. Like what I said rang through like that. I communicated exactly what was there. And this death card energy, this is where the transformation definitely needs to occur. This is where the push is happening. This is where the pivot, the change, the unlocking of the new, whether it's a new understanding, etc. That's where this is. And sometimes it can just be like having the information is enough, right? Like it's not even that you have to do necessarily any kind of heavy lifting, because it's that's not necessarily the case. Although on the business side of things, that that might be the case for sure. On a personal level, though, this might be more so tied to the past life stuff coming up, or it may be something else. You know, maybe you have some work with angels or different gods or what have you that needs to come up. But yeah, that one that one had a lot to say. Okay. Last but certainly not least, we have the Scribe. This is card number 12. This is kind of like a major arcana in this particular deck. Okay. So on a personal level, yes, this can be talking about education and learning. I'm actually want to focus on the imagery that's coming here in the picture. This is both learning as well as carrying on tradition, right? Because before in this image, before there were like photocopiers, right? You actually have to have scribes like exactly copying from the source material to create new books. So it's very labor intensive. but that's how information got disseminated. And can you imagine how much you would have learned and explored and gone deeper into if you are literally hand copying the same text for hundreds of times, possibly thousands of times, depending on how many books. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't thousands, but especially because there's so many people, so maybe hundreds of times. What things would you see in what's being written there? What things would you learn from that constant repetition and reinforcement of the ideas that the writer themselves, who that might be this person, or at least this might be the manager checking over the work, but you know both the extraction of new information from that which is routine, as well as the deepening of a mastery, like imagining how your penmanship, spacing, and overall discipline improves over time. Your ability to, like, imagine if you were having to copy like really complex calligraphy or whatever. Like, there's so much more that can be extracted from what on the outside might be considered the basics. So, how could that show up for you in your spiritual life? June might be that time for you to, again, especially with the Mercury in Cancer and Mars in Taurus energy, to return to the things that are a home for you in terms of your spiritual walk and your spiritual practices, whatever they are for you that you might have come out of practice of. Like, getting back into those routines might be really helpful. There might be more that's extracted, whether that is, new insights, new revelations, etc., or just new confidence, new emboldenedness, stronger will. That also is important to cultivate. So yeah, I think you can apply that to a lot of different areas on the spiritual as well as the personal side of things in your life. On the business side, let me actually see this in the book real quick. This is another thing about study as well. So I'm going to read this too. The learned scribe writes at a high desk. So that the scribe is this person here. Nearby are the learned scribe is here. Nearby are a number of other working scribes. In some ancient societies, scribes are simply copiers of holy texts. You can't simply be a copier of holy texts. Like, the language is interesting. But in many, they were the most learned men of their time, people well versed in law, scripture, philosophy, history, and more. That is really important. All of those, that context, very much there. This card indicates a great upsweep in mind and study for you. And didn't we just have this come up with the King of Scrolls? So it is time to really consider in June where, when, and how you can learn and go deeper. If there's any subject with which you'd like to acquaint or reacquaint yourself, do so. It's not just for the sake of study, although that is always a good thing. And as an artist, as a creative, I highly encourage you to do so, because nothing is wasted. Every book, every movie, every time you brunch, all of that is nutrients for the soil, for something for the future. Like, none of it is wasted. So also, you can just study just to study. Like, it's okay. That is a privilege if you have it. So if you have it, yes, you can study just to study. This period of higher mind and higher learning is nothing less than a change your life or even change the world opportunity. no pressure. Just as the Wright brothers began by studying the flight patterns of birds, you can rise up on the wings of discovery now. There may be a teacher or even an entire school that can help you with this upliftment. Be sure to seek out the right person or place of learning. You could also become a writer or teacher yourself at this time, elevating and contributing to others. If you're involved in any legal matters, there's a person who can help you with this. Let your vision be a guide. Let your great vision guide you to that person. This could also be a time when you might find yourself writing proposals, grants, essays, blogs, articles, or books. Notice what compels you and be sure to answer the call. I think that is really clear. That honestly just feels like a reinforcement of this. So the only difference actually that I'm picking up between these two cards is that you can also just engage in this deeper learning process if there's just a desire to engage in a deeper learning process. It doesn't have to also be tied to something else, although it can. But I think that already comes up in the message earlier from the King of Scrolls. But the fact that in general, the folks who would be allowed to be the scribes are already well versed in these other areas to be able to then come to do the work of copying a holy text speaks to that in particular for me. So yeah, let's see if there's anything else with that, but I think that really is just the thing with this card. Let's see if there's anything else that I'm not picking up yet that maybe needs to be relayed. But I think that is it. Small group learning is definitely important because not everybody can do this, have space for it, for whatever reason. So again, if you have that privilege, like it's okay to actually lean into it. Like that's what making use of the gifts are. Like you make use of the privilege. You don't apologize for it. You make use of it. The thing is though, with this, you may or may not know the impact later on. The King of Scrolls, this feels more like specific and immediate. So for those folks, it's going to be like, yeah, I need to work on this, this, and this. For the folks where it's like, I have the opportunity, so I'm just going to take it now, just because there's no reason not to. Yeah, whether or not that in and of itself that you are learning literally is something that you ultimately work on later on is irrelevant. It's something that adds to that collective of general knowledge from which you draw from, which then impacts, the other work that you do. Listen, the Hermit card, literally just it's okay to just learn, just to learn. Okay. Beautiful messages today. Let's see if you have any questions. No questions today. So cool. Thank you so much. We are right at noon here. So I'm actually going to stop. We've been here long enough. Thank you so much for being here. I really hope you got something great out of this. Like I said, I obviously have more specifics in the astrology report for June that will be coming out in the newsletter after next. Make sure you sign up for the newsletter to get that. Once you get that newsletter, please circle back to this message because certain things, again, are going to resonate right here, right now. But once you have that other information, there may be other things that pop up that make sense for you, whether on the spiritual side of things or on the business side of things, depending on what's coming up. So just know that is there. But yeah, that is it. Happy Mother's Day for folks that, or belated Mother's Day for folks that celebrated. Hope you did anything to take care of yourself. I know we have here in the States Memorial Day coming up soon. So, get in where you fit in with that in terms of taking rest and enjoying yourself. But if you would like to work with me or again, learn more about my work, about Anderson Alchemy, etc., check the information at the website. It's there scrolling at the bottom or again, in the description below. I love you all. Thank you all for being here. Again, subscribe to the channel if you will, if you're not already. And God willing, I will see you next week. I most likely will not be live next week. I probably will try to just record a video and put it up because my schedule might be a little busy towards the end of the week. I'll see. There will be a video. I just don't know if it will be live. So just FYI. But my intention, though, is to get a little bit deeper into some of those other topics. So definitely you want to watch whatever the next message is. But anyway, have a wonderful weekend. And God willing, I will see y'all next time.